Hey class, welcome back. During this video, I'll be talking about the stages in endochondral ossification, the whole process. Just a quick recap, endochondral ossification is the formation mainly of long bones, but also bones at the base of the skull. And what makes this ossification different than intramembranous is that cartilage is present. So bone develops by replacing the hyaline cartilage, and that is from the mesenchymal cells. They start to differentiate about 6 to 8 weeks after conception into chondrocytes, which are cartilage cells. So if you can follow along to the images embedded just below this video, it's in chronological order of the stages. We're going to start. So the first stage is the bone collar formation. Now, the bone collar formation is where the primary ossification center develops in the center of the bone. So if you look at the image, you'll see a circle. That is the primary ossification center, and it is the source of the bone development. And just like intramembranous ossification, the osteoblasts that are found in the bone will secrete osteoids against the walls of the diaphysis. The diaphysis is made up of hyaline cartilage. So that's what we're talking about. So that hyaline cartilage is going to be replaced to develop the bone. So the hyaline cartilage is now going to be encased in compact bone. And the bone collar gives the developmental bone structural support, and it begins to harden. And the hardening of the bone is called calcification. So that is the first step, bone collar formation. The primary ossification center forms, and the osteoblasts found in the bone start to secrete the osteoids against the walls of the diaphysis. Now, if you could look at the second image, this stage is called cavitation. Now, during this stage, the chondrocytes, the cartilage cells, go through an enlargement, and they signal the hyaline cartilage to harden in the bone. And that hardening is called calcification. So that is step 2. A little more info on step 2. The calcified hyaline cartilage is impermeable and to the diffusion of nutrients. So that means since the chondrocytes can't receive any nutrients, they begin to die and leave small cavities. And these small cavities leave room in the hardened bone for blood vessels to travel through. So that is step 2. The chondrocytes begin to enlarge and signal the hyaline cartilage to harden in the bone. So chondrocytes enlarge, signal hyaline cartilage to harden in the bone, which is calcification. So that is step 2. And as you can see in the image, we have the bone collar is now not out, it's now against the image, and the primary ossification you see, and then you see the bone marrow and the bones start to form. Now, step 2 is called periosteal bud invasion. Now, this is where the introduction of nutrient highway to the bone begins. And the osteoblast now secretes into the remaining hyaline cartilage and gives rise to early spongy bone. So that is cavitation. That is periosteal bud, excuse me. The bud invasion is the introduction of nutrient highway to the bone, and then the osteoblasts secrete the osteoids in the remaining hyaline cartilage and give rise to early spongy bone. So that is step 3 of endochondral ossification. Now, step 4, if you can look down, is diaphysis elongation. So after the nutrients is delivered to the center of the bone, the diaphysis region has the resources to now elongate. So elongate means to what? Stretch out. The elongated region is powered by cells dividing in the primary center of ossification. And this elongation region is called the medullary cavity. The medullary cavity is where the bone marrow is now contained. So that is the diaphysis elongation. So The nutrient source is delivered to the center of the bone. The diaphysis region now has resources to now elongate, and that elongated region is called medullary cavity. And that is where the bone marrow is contained. The last stage of endochondral ossification is the epiphyseal ossification. So just before birth, the ends of the bones, or the epiphysis, will develop their own centers of ossification because they can't stay made of cartilage, because then they would be really weak and it wouldn't hold up the structure. So now these centers of ossification that are formed are called the secondary centers of ossification. And they will go through the same process as the primary ossification. They will go through the enlargement, the calcification, the cavitation, and the periosteal bud invasion. So that is the 5 steps of endochondral ossification.